1 o'clock, we're going to go ahead and get started. Could somebody grab the door in the back, please? Actually, grab some more people while you're there, too.
Hey, come on in.
Nicely done. Nicely done. All right, welcome, everybody. Hi, my name is Michael Keeling, and along with my colleagues Thijmen and Will, we're going to be doing a little workshop today, how to discover quality requirements with the Mini-QAW, where you will be putting these ideas into practice and actually learning how to do these things firsthand for yourself. All right, so let's say that you want to build a vehicle, right? You're going to put some functional requirements in place. Pretty simple, right? You just need to go forward, turn, stop. Easy features, right? All right, here's your vehicle, ready to go. Okay, nice, that's nice, but what if you wanted a little bit better acceleration maybe, right? So something that goes a little faster. Ah, perfect, I've got the vehicle for you. Nice speedy vehicle. It certainly goes forward and stops. Everything looks great. Those guys are definitely chilling. But maybe you want something with a little more style, right? Something that's not, I don't know, not as bizarre as a banana-mobile. Ah, perfect. Style, right? Everybody loves a DeLorean, you know. OK, so functional requirements are really only part of the problem. And I think everybody has seen a lot about quality attributes. And really, some of those things that we were talking about are these system properties, right? But let's see here, system properties. And as you kind of saw, we had 3 vehicles, each with the same basic features, but dramatically different properties, right? So depending on the properties that you want in your system, you will, depending on the properties that you desire, you will end up with very, very different architectures, okay? Very different systems. All right, quality attributes, okay? So that's what we're talking about. Quality attributes are awesome. But they can also be a little bit tricky to gather. Okay, so the big thing, we use the same words all the time: scalability, reliability, all these things. Words aren't enough. We have to go a little bit deeper and bring these things out into the open to understand what they really mean. Measurement, when we say scalable, what does that really mean? Did you mean 5 people? Did you mean 5 million people? What does scalability mean to you? Really, really tough to figure out sometimes. How do you actually know if you have achieved the property, right? So if it's testing, directly testing these things can be very difficult as well, even if you have good measures defined and good metrics. Man, so let's go ahead and make things even more complicated. Different stakeholders care about different things, okay? So, one person that you're working with might have a dramatically different idea of what is important. Let's see here. In this one, somebody says, availability is the #1 thing. And then this guy in red, stakeholder B, he's like, meh, availability, whatever. Right? So now you've got people who are in contention with one another, and we have to sort that out, right? All kinds of problems with trying to understand the quality attributes that we want in the system, which is where the quality attribute workshop comes into play. So this is basically a workshop where you try and sort out some of these issues and get people talking about system properties so that you can record them and hopefully address some of these key problems. And that's what we're going to do today. All right, so here's our basic agenda. A little bit more theory, hopefully not too much, and then we're going to jump in for a lot of practice, and then we'll wrap this up with some group discussion about what we did and what we learned today. All right, theory bits. So I totally skipped this, right? So I guess we better address this now. What is a quality attribute? So a couple of definitions here. When we talk about quality attributes, we're really talking about the benchmarks that describe a system, the behavior of that system, okay? The specific criteria that you use to judge the overall operation of the system, more so than just the behavior, right? So a test can pass or fail. A quality attribute is sometimes more of a spectrum, right? There's degrees of passing and failing sometimes. Yeah, I hope that's not new to anybody. It is Thursday, right? So I hope this has come up before today. Traditional QAW is an 8-step process where you go through all these things, starting with reviewing kind of your business goals and your mission. Usually you present the architecture and the plan. And then the bulk of the workshop is spent doing brainstorming and refining those scenarios, okay? QAW is awesome, all right? And that's why we used it as the basis for the Mini-QAW. QAW also takes at least a day to 2 weeks. It's really expensive. Okay, so with getting this kind of repeatability and robustness can be, well, it is really expensive. So we started hacking at this thing to figure out a way to make it a little more lean and more suitable for our needs. All right, so introduction, we drop it down, take it to about 15 minutes. We actually skip all of this other stuff. We don't find use in it day to day, at least on our project teams that we're working with. Most of this is internal. Nice. Most of it is kind of internal work that we're doing. Although we have used this with customer stakeholders as well. Yeah, we're usually okay to skip those things. We have modified the 3 main steps here, scenario brainstorming, consolidation, and prioritization, basically to make them a little bit more collaborative, a little more lean, and a lot more fun, we think, than the traditional QAW. And I think that's the main contribution there. And typically when you're doing this, we do the refinement as homework. So that's not something that we do as a larger group. There's homework, and then we come back and present later. Which brings us to the modified Mini-QAW agenda. This is something that you can run in anywhere from about an hour to a half a day, depending on your goals. Okay, so yeah, actually we're going to practice this throughout the rest of the workshop, so I'm not going to say much more about this right now. And now it's time. How is everyone doing after lunch?
Everybody stand up, raise your hands, put your finger in your belly.
Yeah. No, he was being serious. He was, no, we are being serious. Go ahead, stand up, please. Stand up, stand up. Wave your hands around just a little bit. Thank you, thank you.
Wake up.
Beautiful. Okay, that was great. All right, we are now ready to do this stuff. Okay, so for the workshop portion, we are going to be giving you a case study that is going to be our simulation for the day. Okay, so Thijmen is going to present that in a second. We are then going to walk through 4 of the main activities of the Mini-QAW. We're not going to have time to go into all the detail on all of them. The goal today is to give you a taste and to give you a feeling for some of the main pieces of it, how they work, and get you comfortable using these methods. We do have 3 amazing facilitators, so there will be plenty of chances to ask questions as we're doing the exercises. All right, ground rules for the workshop. With all things architecture, there really is no, or I should say all things design, there really is no right or wrong answer. Okay, there are things that are better or worse, and the simulation is not complete. Okay, so you are going to need to occasionally fill in blanks and kind of draw on your own experience to kind of keep the workshop going. Time is going to be very critical for us to be able to walk through all this. Please raise your hand if you have a watch or smartphone capable of telling time. Okay, almost everyone. That's pretty good. When we divide into teams, please appoint a timekeeper. Okay, we're gonna try and keep time as well. If you see one of us raise our hands like this, and we've just proved that you can all raise hands, please be quiet, put your hand up to try and signal other people to also be quiet. This can grow out of control really quickly with this crowd this large, and we do need your help trying to bring things back together when we do this. As I mentioned, ask the 3 of us questions as we're going. We'll be floating around the room. Please do have fun with this, okay? It is supposed to be an engaging exercise, and the more fun you have, the more effectively the learning will be. And if you are a tweeterer, feel free to snap the hashtag there with, I guess you're not going to be snapping things, tweetering things, but hit the hashtag with whatever cool stuff you're doing at your table in your team. Great, and with that, let's learn about our case study.
Mm-hmm. The first thing about Twittering, and I saw some people taking pictures, we'll have a website at the end as well, where you get all the materials, including the slides that you have today. So you don't have to worry about capturing that for yourself right now. You can focus on the exercise and the experience. We came up with a case study for this little tutorial. So the project Pony Express. Whoever tried to use public transport in this country? Was it a good experience? Whoever does business travel and then doesn't have access to his own car? Most of us probably, right? And you find yourself in these situations that you're like, okay, I'm in the Sheraton Hotel and it's very far from downtown where I may want to be. How do I get there easily? And then a car would be quite awesome to have, but you may not want to rent or pay for Sheraton's parking fees, right? So at the Project Pony Express, we acknowledge this problem. I mean, public transport is just not efficient. This example I picked off Google Maps, where directions from here to the University of California, driving it will take you about half an hour, and if you take public transport according to Google, it will take you 2 hours roughly, give or take a little bit. And that is obviously when you leave when the bus comes. So we wanted to make this experience easier, to make a relay system. And that's where the name comes from. Project Pony Express was a short-lived express mail service from the East Coast to the West Coast and back, where there would be riders and fresh riders and fresh horses at stations along the route. So the mail could just keep going at the highest possible speed. And then even it took 10 days to go coast to coast. So the election of Lincoln was actually one of those things that used that, and the news arrived very quickly in California. I think it took 11 days. But we want to give you sort of the similar experience as the mail, right? When you get to your next bus stop or your next point where your bus brings you or your train brings you or your bike share takes you. I actually used a bike share. There's one out of the hotel. It's just 10 minutes to ride downtown, right? But you have to know your options. So we want to, with Pony Express, bring you from A to B, whatever mode of transport you need, and make it easy, right? So we just want you to quickly be able to compare the different options and have a one-ticket experience, right? Because that's the other thing. If you try to use public transport and you're going to change, then you'll find that somewhere along the route you have to buy a new ticket. And that the transfers are really painless. And by that, we also then have to integrate ride-sharing services, maybe, such as Uber or Lyft. So that when your bus arrives, then for the last mile or 5 miles or 10 miles, you can just take an Uber, right? And in that way, balance your time, your cost, and your environmental impact, and make an easy transport solution. So that is what Project Pony Express is about. It's about getting from A to B, whatever mode of transport you need. So our little startup has of course, a CEO. If you look at the stakeholders that are involved in this, we have a product owner and an architect and a development team on the right-hand side of the slide. Then there's a lot of other people that have to get involved here, right? You have the transport authorities that operate bus services or train services or whatever. But also secondary people like bus drivers, because they all have to check this single ticket, right? They have to have a way to verify your identity. And of course, a very central person, the traveler, you experiencing this. So if we try to draw a simple or quick context diagram of this, we have a traveler that interacts with some mobile application, that the mobile application probably talks to some complex backend, and that backend has to integrate with all the different transport providers, as well as our own backend services, such as customer representation or customer services. Because when you get stuck, you want to be able to call somebody and like, get me the hell out of here. So that is Project Pony Express. Does it sound awesome? Yeah. Here. Okay, good. So we have set this up so that we work with teams of the size 4. So if you're not a multiple of 4, so you have to be 4 or 8 at your table. I propose you to move around because everybody will assume a role. So we have 4 different roles. So I see 5 people on this table, so maybe George, you arrived last. I mean, if you're not a multiple of 4, I mean, being 7 or 6 is also okay. You can split into teams of 3 or a team of 3 and 4. That works fine too.
I think they're new.
Yeah. Okay.
That was sad.
Okay. Did everybody, okay, once you have a stable team of 4 somewhat, then come and pick up a packet, or come over and pick up a packet with some materials.
Do the courier?
Oh, yeah. Yes, there you go. Oh, yeah.
You guys already have one? Oh, miscoordinated. All right.
Sorry. Who does not have a packet? Okay. Oh. Go. Yep. One more, I think.
One more?
Yep. So aside from a packet, you'll also need one of the radar charts. So in the center of each table, you'll find one of these radar charts. So we have one bigger table there, so we'll move a spare radar chart in that direction.
You guys already have all the info. It's just an extra.
Where can I see it?
I
saw you be late. I have to check out first.
Yeah.
Any place, I'm easy.
Yeah, I'm trying to
I've
go
done
to that table. Yeah. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. Space there as well.
Need an extra package?
Yeah, so each team needs one of these as well. So I'll give you one more on this table. Good. I think we have the particularities more or less sorted out right now. So in your the stack of papers you got, you'll find persona cards. So maybe you want to tier those up in some way, or at least assign everybody one of them. And that is why you now figure out why there's teams of 4. If you're less than 4, it's also okay, but have at least one person being the architect. Yeah. So once you have each gotten a card, your first assignment will be to briefly introduce each other. So explain to the rest of the team what is your role according to the card. And we don't. Huh?
I think those are the same. I think one of us just have to share.
Yeah, one of you is going to have to
Take 5 minutes.
Take
Clock starts now.
Take 5 minutes to introduce yourselves and your roles. Okay, let's move on. Everybody ready? Yes. Are you ready for the first exercise? This was just a warm-up, right, to get you talking in your team. Yeah. We'll have to quiet you down a couple of more times, I think. But it's good to hear that the discussion is going. The first thing we'll do today is the Stakeholder Empathy Map. Today we'll do a modified version, but I'll explain the traditional version first. So one of the things that Michael spoke about earlier is the conflict between stakeholder interests, right? Different people have different priorities on what quality they find important. And that is, I think, the nice thing about the quality attribute workshop. You get this conflict all in the room. You are not, as the architect, left in the position to decide, how do I prioritize these things? You actually can have an open discussion about it. But the problem with the workshop is that many of us work in global organizations. Some of us work in organizations with multiple offices. Oftentimes, you cannot get all your stakeholders to join your workshop because maybe you don't know who they are yet exactly, but you may know that their role exists. And then you would want to do an empathy exercise. So the Stakeholder Empathy Map exercise is where you brainstorm about who are my stakeholders, right? Who is the entire landscape beyond the people that are today in the room, right? Today in your exercise you have 4 people, but there will be more people that have an interest in this system. What do they think? And so you try to brainstorm on who are these people, and you try to find representatives for these people in the group that you have in the workshop. And once you have a representative, that representative is going to try to estimate to his best ability what are the priorities of this person I'm representing. Right? So you're empathizing with the person that is not in the room, not in the workshop. And it's also a nice warm-up because this will allow the people that are actually in the room and are not familiar with this format to see that there will be conflict of interest. So it's not directly on the persons, right? You don't get immediately a fist fight across the table, but I think we have to have security. No, we have to have performance. And then to the extent that you can propose a scenario from the stakeholder's perspective, right, to make it concrete. Why do I think that this other person thinks that security is very important? Right? Why does the auditor think that it's not in the room that an audit trail is a very important feature of the system? So if you do something like that, then it can look something like on this slide. So you get sort of a different scoring. Everybody uses a different color of pen. That is why there's different colors of pen on your table, hopefully. Otherwise, go and grab some later. Or mark them with different elements, right? A cross or a diamond. And then you visualize in that way on the radar chart what is important to me. Right? So the more important it is, the further out on the radar chart you mark it. Right? So here, evolvability is an important attribute, according to the stakeholder in that color. We didn't write the qualities yet on your chart, so you'll have to do that yourself. You did also get a taxonomy with the 5 qualities we thought you may want to use. You're free to introduce a 6th one or take one out and introduce 2 new ones, but try to get through that phase quickly, right? So stick with maybe with the 5 that we have, and then you have space to add 1 more.
So your chart should look
like that, yes.
Or something similar.
So that you can do once we get started. Let me first explain the full exercise. Wait. Oh. You're really eager to get going. That's really good. So the twist we'll do today, the twist we do today, I was not on yet, sorry. The twist we do today is that as you're already assigned a role that is not yours, we'll skip the stakeholder brainstorming, right? So you're going to, from your assigned role, do the priority estimation. That way we gain some time. There's Star Wars going on next door. So from the role that you have on your card, you're going to estimate what does this role think is important on these quality attributes. Because otherwise it will be too much of a brain stretch for you today. And then record your findings, right? What is the priorities from the stakeholder that I was assigned, that I have on my card? What are the priorities for this stakeholder on these quality attributes that are on the example chart on the right hand there? Some hints to get you going on that. Think about somebody that maybe does the role or a similar role, has a similar job. Get the architect in your group to facilitate, hopefully a little bit. I mean, it's the architect's role to not have to make these priority decisions, right? And really the different perspectives try to make you stronger. I mean, maybe also open this up for discussion a little bit, right? So we take 10, 12 minutes for this to get you going. One question first. Yeah?
The instructions say to pick someone who is unrepresented. So it's not the four of us who are already represented.
Yes. So if you would run this for real, you would do it that way. Today we make it a bit simpler because you've already been assigned a role that you're not familiar with. You're not playing yourself today. So we'll skip this step, right? So you've already stepped ahead.
So we just take those 4 roles.
Yes, you just take those 4 roles. Yes. Time is running. Ask us questions. One more minute.
We have room for questions. All right, good. All right, super. All right, so how was that? It was exciting, huh? Very good. So now everybody has a very good understanding of the stakeholder that you're playing. You have a better understanding of their priorities and their needs. So we're going to go into a little more brain-intensive exercise and do some scenario brainstorming. So what we're going to do in this exercise is actually look at some of the needs of each of these stakeholders, some of the specific scenarios, the risks, the concerns that they may have. So we're actually going to put all these ideas on stickies, and we're going to put them on the map that you have just played around with. The idea here is that we want to identify and describe the stakeholders' concerns, get to something to where we actually can provide all this information to each of these stakeholders. In a typical mini-quality attributes workshop, we would actually go through a process that takes around 30 minutes to about 2 to 3 hours. The process goes as far as starting with a particular scenario on the web. Ask is, look at the quality attribute and say, is this quality attribute relevant to your particular system? If yes, then you take the time. You spend about 5 minutes per each of these quality attributes and brainstorm scenarios, risks and concerns that you may have on the stickies. You write the scenarios on the stickies and you put them on the web in the line related to that particular quality attribute. And then after 5 minutes, you move on to the next scenario. A lot of times with this process, you can use a taxonomy to run through each of those particular quality attributes so you have a good understanding of the meaning behind those quality attributes. So it's actually a really nice way to run through that. What you typically end up with is a radar diagram filled in with a bunch of stickies. But does anybody notice what is interesting about this particular? They're clustered, exactly. So they're more important as you look towards those particular quality attributes. So that's what we're going to do in this next exercise. We're going to spend about 20 minutes at this time. And then take the, empathize with the stakeholder that you have been assigned. We're going to walk around the quality attributes web, assign somebody to be a Spider-Man. We're going to brainstorm the raw scenarios on stickies and put them onto that area within for that quality attribute. Some hints, we want to put the stickies close to the related attributes. We don't want to worry about creating formal scenarios. We'll get into that a little bit later. Think about the stimulus, the response, the environment in which the system is working. What are you worried about? What are your risks? What are your concerns? And try to be aware of features and functional requirements during this exercise. Again, we're looking for quality attributes scenarios rather than actual requirements. So if everybody's ready, we'll go on and start that exercise. Any questions before we get started? No? All right. 20 minutes. Go ahead and get going. So it might be easier to put it on the wall too. I didn't mention that, but sometimes it's easier to do it that way. You can view it. Sorry? It's actually sticky on the back.
It's sticky. Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah, yeah. So
Technology.
somewhere I know. It's amazing.
I'm not using technology.
And you know that the guy who invented that probably made a lot of money, right? Yes.
Would you mind, like, helping us figure out what
Sure.
these things should be? Okay, so I'm the bus driver, and I care about interoperability because of the fact that I don't want to add anything to my bus.
Yep.
So I want them to be able to seamlessly do everything.
Okay.
What type of thing should I say that as? Because that is what type of thing, right?
So think of it in a sense of what the need is for the bus driver, right? So the bus driver has a need. Let me see here.
Well, it's the person in charge of the buses.
Right. They care about cost of, and they're not worried about what? Let's see here.
Well, they don't want, we can't invest in special equipment.
Okay.
So they want the Honey Express to be nice and smooth.
Okay. So they
Because
want.
they don't want to add anything else. So
Okay.
they want to make sure that you can, if they're using us, that there's nothing special.
Okay. So what's the user in this sense? So the user would be like a the traveler, right? So the traveler wants a ticketing system that can work with that system as well as the other system, where they can easily transfer the tickets in a day's time frame or something, right? So within their travel, they want to be able to transfer a ticket from the bus to the train or whatever it may be, right? And so if you look at, if you can kind of look at these, but the idea is that you want the traveler to be able to use a ticket.
I'm thinking about, so I'm the public transit authority thinking in the place of the user.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's also about the user, right? So
Yeah.
in a sense, yeah.
I am this user, but I'm also empathizing with the actual traveler at that.
With the right, because that's what you're representing that public transport authority as the vice president on my sales. You want to make sure that the sales process for that ticket is seamless, or it provides you with the ease of moving from system to system, and that so all the systems can communicate. So the systems should be able to communicate in some fashion. So what you want to do is start with this one, talk about it amongst yourselves, brainstorm for about 5 minutes for each of these quality attributes, and then move on to the next one.
Should we be going through this right now?
Not yet. That's next. Yep.
Okay, so
I think that the next step is going to get more specific.
Yes. We'll refine. First step is just brainstorm ideas and crazy ideas and whatever you can come up with. Yeah.
So we say we need.
So I said like,
we
we
will
can't
get
reliably integrate with the platform.
interop.
I'll never get a customer.
So you can get a little bit more specific. So what about the ticketing system? What aspect of the system needs to operate together? Right? And how do they communicate? What happens if they fail, right, to communicate? What happens if one of the systems goes down? How soon can they recover? How soon can they expect to know whether or not the system is down? Those are the types of scenarios that we're looking at when we think about some of these capabilities. Is that?
So then I would say something like I need to be able to, my drivers need to be able to claim orders
Within this certain amount of time or something, right?
okay.
Or
with reliable conflict resolution, with reliable changes, system contentions or something like that. I don't want me and somebody else.
sure, yeah. Or it could be another scenario where if you have two systems that need to communicate, and for some reason one of the systems goes down, the interoperability also needs to ensure that if that system does go down, there is a recovery plan in place, right, so that they can resume and communicate. APIs, all sorts of things like that. So, whole range of things to think about. A lot of time for this one.
Yeah, we might have been. It's been 5 minutes.
5 minutes so far?
I think they'll probably need at least 15.
15? Okay.
Yeah, we might cut it off.
That's fine. Yeah. I think they're getting it?
Yeah, we're doing okay.
Yeah, okay.
this is from a stakeholder's perspective only, right? It's
Yes.
not. It's not from like, as a cab company. How do I respond to, what's coming from Pony Express? It's from a stakeholder's perspective.
It is from a stakeholder's perspective.
Okay.
And as a stakeholder, you represent a lot of different interests, right? So it is important to
So
think
the
about
stakeholder
that.
in this case is traveler.
The stakeholder in this case, you are the CEO,
Okay.
right? So if you think that you're the CEO and the founder of Easy Ride, you represent not only like your company and your business interests, but you also represent like the people who actually get out there and drive or whatever, so there's an aspect there that is important to think
So
about.
when you're writing, so each one of the stakeholders will address one of those. Is that how it's laid out?
So what you want? No. So well,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. So you go from quality attribute to quality attribute, and all the stakeholders brainstorm that particular. Yeah, all the stakeholders have needs, right?
Yeah.
They have performance needs. They may have. Absolutely. Every stakeholder has a need in these cases, right? Yep. Awesome. Great. You're doing it great. Yep.
It's really nice to see everybody
It's fun.
being active.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's better than everybody's just like, I don't know what to do.
Well, it's what I find with a lot of the presentations. There's a lot of theory or maybe examples of what they did.
This
but
is what I want.
I love this, yeah, because I can actually take this home and use it, yeah.
I mean, there's some people that have tried, or they have tried to have an interactive session. I wonder whether we were the first to complain about the setup in the world.
I think so. Yeah. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
In the call, we ask for highly interactive etc. But
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, this is the calls.
Yes.
We play, and then
Right.
you get this theater most.
Yeah, I'm glad we asked them to. And it wasn't that hard. I mean, the guy figured it out, right? It was definitely worth
Took
it.
him half an hour or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, this would totally not have worked in theater mode.
No.
Disaster.
Yeah, that would have been a disaster.
It's basically like, I guess what would happen is that regardless of what company you're at, like what part of the leg that you're on to your destination, the interface at which the user interacts with the company is seamless.
Okay, well, also,
Sort of like
what if a bus breaks down? What if I'm on the second leg of my journey and the bus breaks down? What should happen? How to support it going on? Should you be sending out taxis to these people? Should, is it on the bus company? What are the traffic chaos?
I want to mention mention a few things before we move on? Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Just I've answered the same question like 3 times.
Oh, which one?
About the like how raw, what do we put in the stickies kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to mention it for the
Go
video.
ahead, clarify that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good idea. All right. That's always kind of the hardest one, right?
What time does the session end?
2:30. Right? Yeah, 2:30. It's an hour and a half, yeah.
Oh,
Start
okay,
at
yeah,
1.
we're in great shape then.
Yeah, we're fine. Yeah, more
We'll
than
have more
enough
time for discussion. That's wonderful.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's good to have some.
Yeah.
I don't think we were
I love this stuff. This is great.
It's yeah. This is fun.
energy. Sort of.
Energy is great. I love it. Especially when you see like people really getting into it, like, and smiling and having fun. Right? I mean, that's. Oops, did I turn this off? No, I didn't.
So I guess a couple of things here. Yeah. So like you say 4 nines, right? Is that like a good load? What do you think?
Is that interoperability?
I wonder how quickly if it takes you a year, would that be okay? Yeah. What happened to negotiate? 14 minutes. I think we said 20, didn't we?
So 20.
We'll give 15 and then maybe start.
We can do a check, see if anybody needs more time.
Okay, sure. I'll like start telling people like 1 minute.
Yeah.
What's wrong?
Let's start telling people in another 2 minutes to like start wrapping it up. You know,
Okay.
1 minute warning.
Okay.
Like you said.
Hey, hey, hey. Can you guys hear me okay? Start wrapping it up. Start wrapping it up. Yeah, hands up, guys. Shh. Wrap up what you're working on, please. We're going to move on. Yeah, constraints, right? They suck. But that's life. So we have a couple more things to cover. I got a couple of questions as we were walking around the room, and I just wanted to mention this for everybody's benefit, but also for the benefit of the video as well. Some people were asking, like, what do we mean by a concern? What should really be going on these stickies? And at this point in the game, we're really looking just to capture any kind of like a risk or a worry or an idea that you might have. Okay, each one of these sticky notes kind of represents the start of a conversation. Okay, and that conversation is going to be something that is going to play out in a couple of minutes when we try and refine these scenarios. So even if you only have like a little fragment of a quality attribute scenario in mind, something like I know that it's not okay to go down on the weekends, right? We have to be up, basically all week or something like that. Or for the taxi companies, you might say the mornings and the afternoons are our peak loads, and we get X number of thousands of riders, right? Little things like that by itself are not a good scenario. However, it's good information to start to know. Man, those guys are doing crazy stuff over there. Okay. Anyway, yeah. So at this point, you should have fragments of things, maybe even just like observations about the environment or worries about the system context at that time, or different pieces of operation sources for things, or triggers, right? Any piece of one of those quality attribute scenarios is great information for a sticky. It doesn't have to be a full thing. So just wanted to reiterate that again. Do you want to keep cruising, Will?
Let's keep cruising.
All right.
Okay, so next step that we're going to do is scenario prioritization. And what we're going to do is understand, what are the most important concerns that we have for this system. We want to be able to spend our time very wisely. We want to focus on the most important aspects of this system. And we're going to separate the wheat from the chaff. Okay, so in a typical mini quality attributes workshop, this process really takes only 5 minutes. We look at each of the scenarios that we've come up with, and we use dot voting from each of the stakeholders. So each stakeholder gets n over 3 plus 1 votes, and then we also usually say 2 votes to choose the top quality attribute. Although when you have an empathy mapping, or after you've completed the empathy exercise, usually it's pretty obvious which quality attributes are your highest priority. So it looks something like that, right? You have a vote on each of these scenarios, and then that's how you know which scenario is going to be the most important for you. So we're going to go through an exercise real quick, 5 minutes, where we're going to prioritize. We're going to use dot voting. Every person is going to get 2 votes. That is, every stakeholder gets 2 votes. And you vote on one of those stickies, whichever sticky you feel is the most important. Any questions before we get started?
Why do I have just 2 votes? So what is the reason for this?
Good question. I think the reason is we do not want to provide biasing or anything to that effect. We want to make sure that everybody gets an even vote throughout for each of these stakeholders. So in this case, we're going to use 2 votes.
But in reality, how many votes for this Mini-QAW
So
use?
typically, yeah. So typically we would do it by the number of stakeholders. It's just a typical. So this is a multi-voting, right? There's a lot of different ways to do multi-voting. We're doing it by number of stakeholders. You could actually do it by number of stickies if you really wanted. I think 40% is kind of the rule of thumb. Yeah, 2 votes. I don't know. You could take 3 if you want. I mean, we're not going to count, right? So.
So some hints, right? Stay in the role that you've already chosen, or that has been assigned to you. Don't pass any 20s to get your votes for your special scenario or anything. No lobbying or anything to that effect. All right. Any other questions? You can talk. 5 minutes. You each get 2 votes, and you can vote on the scenario. Okay?
Different scenarios for similar concern.
Yep. This is to force you to prioritize. So you only get 2 votes each, and you can vote on any of the stickies that you have in there, but you have to choose. What's that?
Can you consolidate scenarios?
Well, that's up to you. You could.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can negotiate.
You can negotiate. There's negotiation here this time. This is voting, right? But remember, let's only 2 votes. That way, we identify the most important scenarios that we have out of this entire system.
The thing that confuses me is if I only get 2 votes, but I put down more than 2 items on there, why would I ever vote for anyone else's? Why would I would only vote for
You
my
could.
2.
You could. You could. It could be one that you never thought of that is more important.
Okay.
All right. 2 votes. Again, the votes are dependent upon the system that you're working on. So you agree upon, in a real workshop, you could agree upon a higher number. So we're doing it for the sake of quickness. Yeah, yes.
In the real world here, we have some kind of a bias because we are the ecosystem,
yes.
And he's architect, and we have the user.
Yeah.
Okay. But it means that you get
How are we doing? Ready? All right, so now at this point, we know what our most important scenarios are within our diagram. One thing I wanted to mention is that this helps us to understand trade-offs as well. So later on, when you have to make difficult decisions about which scenarios are more important, if there's any trade-offs here, you can easily come to a decision and say, you know, we made a decision early on that this was the most important quality attribute to take care of. So next thing we're going to do is scenario refinement. And this is actually taken from Rebecca Wurzbrock and Joseph Yoder, who had put together this demonstration of how you can represent a quality attribute scenario in a nice format. We've typically used this format for presentation to our stakeholders. So we're going to take the next step and refine our scenarios. A typical mini quality attributes workshop takes about 30 to 60 minutes for this scenario refinement. Depending on how complex your system is, you can also take this for homework as well. You start with the highest priority scenarios, you fill out the worksheets, and then you complete and you present it to your stakeholders to get their buy-in. So it will end up looking like this. All of you should have a handout. There's an example, there's instructions, and then there's 4 scenarios that we're going to actually go through the exercise of refining. So we're going to take 10 minutes and choose your top scenarios. That's 4 scenarios. We're going to fill out the worksheet.
Well, hold on. You're going to have time probably for one, but your goal is to get one good scenario.
50 minutes.
Okay, you've got 10 minutes.
For one, then. Okay.
Okay. If you're, yeah.
Okay, so
everybody gets one.
As you can see in the example, we've identified the quality attribute, the environment in which it is operating in, source, stimulus, artifact, response, and response measure. Does anybody have any questions about this before we proceed on to this next exercise? Yes?
What are example artifacts? I see a mobile app there.
Okay, yeah, so in this case, we have a traveler who initiates a request to the system. The system is a mobile application, and the mobile application returns the options for the traveler in some type of format.
Yeah, this is going to be you're going to have to use your imagination. This is one of those things. Who's your architect on your team? Talk to that person.
Be a bike.
Okay. So we got to get going. Keep it going. We got to keep moving. So.
As an example, yes. Use your imagination, right? Ready? All right, go ahead, go. Any questions? We lost time very quickly. Here, you got it?
I've got a mic. All right, all right, all right. Hey, can you guys hear me okay? I'm coming through. All right. Hey, we're going to wrap it up. Wrapping up. Wrapping up. Last one. Quiet down, please. Can you guys hear me? We're going to move on. I know we lied. We lied to you. We lied to you. We told you 10 minutes, and we took some time back because we're starting to run out of time. I don't know what those guys are doing. They're watching Star Wars or something. It sounds like we should talk to them later. Yeah. Wow. That's amazing. Yeah. What, you guys didn't have fun in here? All right. A couple of general facilitation tips. So, yeah. This workshop, you do need to, as the facilitator, you need to come in prepared to kind of run this thing. So we had some conversations earlier about where do these quality attributes come from? Where does the taxonomy come from? There are many resources online that you can kind of research or figure out ahead. Maybe as the architect, you do some thinking ahead of time on your own. So that's something that you need to do, gathering materials, things like that. Let's see here. Thijmen did some great work on using this with remote teams, and you can check out his SATURN 2015 presentation from last year for some tips on that. And occasionally you are going to run into people who are just sticky averse and don't like doing this stuff. I don't really have a good advice for that, but it's important, right? Getting people to talk, and so figuring out a way to help collaboratively think about these ideas is really the name of the game. So if they don't want to use sticky notes or something, if they hate color and having fun, then you can figure out some other way to do these same ideas, but not necessarily in this format. Yeah, so we talked a little bit about choosing the right taxonomy. Some of the ones that I found useful come from the Architecture and Practice book. There's also a great taxonomy on SOA from the Software Service-Oriented Architecture on the SEI website. Yeah, and your goal here is to give stakeholders a voice, right? That's really what this is all about. All right, advantages, blah, blah, blah. You guys can read that later. I also want to call out the Mini-QAW and the exercises that we did today are not a panacea. They are not going to solve all your problems, okay? And there are situations where you are going to want to use a traditional QAW, okay? One is not better or worse. It is highly dependent upon the context, okay? And I think that's the most important thing to remember when trying to decide which tools you want to use. Okay, we were going to have some time for reflection questions, but we're just about out of time. Does anybody have any questions that they would like to bring up in the few minutes that we have remaining? How did everybody like that exercise? Are you going to try it when you get home with your teams? No, not at all? Oh, you guys are killing us.
Actually, my company, we schedule a workshop for quality attribute workshop, and it's going to happen probably next week or a week after.
Excellent. Good, so you got some new tools for that. If you have questions or anything or want to chat, come find us. Yeah, we like to look at this from the perspective of just tools in your silver toolbox. We can't give you a silver bullet. We'll just give you more tools to put in your silver toolbox. And the taxonomy question does come up pretty repeatedly. If you have found taxonomies, we're trying to gather those resources together so that people have information and knowledge they need to execute these workshops well. So if you come across something, if you've created a taxonomy or anything like that, please share it. And let's start building those resources together. Oh, and finally, if you would like to run this workshop at home with your team, or if you happen to be watching the video and would like to do this, that website has resources, these slides probably, the handouts, all the things that we did here today. So you can reproduce this if you would like. That's it. Oh, that's right. Yes, you should. Thank you very much for your time today. I had a great time. You guys had a great time? Yep. Excellent. Thank you. You were all awesome. So that was a wonderful workshop.